Hello, my loves, and welcome to this series on healing and maintaining healthy connections. This is coming from a perspective of your energetic field, what is happening in your energetic field. And in part one, what you're going to learn is you're going to understand everything that you need to know about energetic cords. You are going to learn how information is sent and received through energetic cords. You're going to learn about quantum entanglement. You're going to understand how to truly heal. So let's strap on in, my love. So why is this so important? This is the most important thing to realize how much energy you are truly draining. You don't realize how much energy is being sent and received through you and everyone in your life and has been in your life. So this is powerful work to really understand how to not drain your energy and your battery and how to maintain a really healthy boundary, because that is the ethos and the importance of creating healthy connections that come back to a place of unconditional love. Now, I know this information all too well because I have worked with this so deeply in my own life, because I have experienced relationships that were very intertwined. They had very strong connection, and that I was with for 10 years of a relationship that had periods of violence, and it was on and off for 10 years. So I know this all too well, the power of knowing how to work with the energetic cords that are attached to us, and the importance of sometimes knowing this for our safety. You know, for me personally, knowing this information is how I finally removed someone from my life that was very unsafe and very toxic. And I'm sure that we've all had those people in our worlds that do not serve our energy, whether that is a relationship, whether that is family, and they are just a drain, and you just do not know how to escape, and you keep on setting boundaries, and you say that you are done and you walk away, and yet they pop up and they keep on coming into your field. What you're going to learn is maybe there is a part of what's happening in your energy, in your mind, in your emotions that is actually keeping you connected to that person. And if I share from my own experience, if you imagine that a relationship someone that you've been in their life for like over 10 years, that's a very strong connection. There is a lot of history. And that was something that was so powerful. Once I realized the effects of my energy on their field, that is when finally I received peace. That's when they finally left me alone, no matter what I said, no matter what I did. There was nothing that shifted it until I shifted my internal frequency and my energy. And that is what completely changed and created peace in my life. There was 10 years of no peace. And to come in a place where so much love for everyone and just harmony and just peace of just going our separate ways, that's beautiful. And that is life-changing, and that is important information, because you may be dealing with someone, some family member or relationship or friendship that doesn't have emotional intelligence, nor has the conscious awareness of their own behavior, own energy. And this is where this information is necessary for you to be empowered, for you to take control, so you can truly have this strong field. And so let's dive right in and explore, what do energetic cords look like? So to me, through my third eye, when I see an energetic cord, it looks like as thin as a cotton string. So just super thin, and it's a gold appearance. And within that string of light that is attaching from our energy field to whoever this is. And the wild thing is that these cords are attached to everyone that has been in your life and everyone that is in your life. You are always connected through these cords. And this is the importance of understanding this, because we have a lot of cord cutting ceremonies out there that are pointless because there's never truly a way to detach, like remove the cord, because they're connected through energy. You cannot fully disconnect it, because this comes back to the one consciousness that we are all actually connected. And so you don't truly disconnect, but you learn to take the charge away from this cord. That is the power. And that is the power how you go in your own direction in peace. But also recognizing what information is in these cords is how we heal them. So how I see them is a string of light. They look like this gold string of light that almost has like shimmers of like light sparks through the string, and they connect you from one to another. And where they are on your aura, in your energy field, on your auric field, is actually depending on the connection. So they can be on the right, the left, the center, the heart, the sacral. Like it depends on the connection as where they are connected into your physical form, your energetic form, which I think is so fascinating. And I would say that that would be to do with, is that a masculine connection, feminine connection? Is it to do with, maybe family and heart space? And sometimes even relationships are in the heart, and sometimes they're even in the sacral energy, because of course that connection of that sensual sexual energy. So that's how I see energetic cords through my vision. Now, remember, when we all see through our third eye, it is perceived through our own lens. It is always going to be slightly different between everyone's extrasensory vision. So that's how I personally see things, because I see things in very much energetic way. And what is being sent back and forth through this cord is information, always, constantly. Now, when you look at information, what we're thinking about is an emotional charge. And this can be positive and negative. So when you think about that person and you think positive thoughts or feelings about that person, we have my lovely visitor with me. So when you think positive thoughts, what is sent through that energetic cord is sent to that other person. If you think negative thoughts or you're speaking negatively about that person, it still sends energy through the cord to that person. Now, this is very critical to understand, because what is the way of which that we truly walk away and find freedom from a connection that isn't in service? It is neutralizing the cord. So this is where people do not recognize that even when you're speaking positively, they subconsciously receive, but not consciously. It is only someone who is very advanced within their ascension journey, in the sense of their soul resonance. If it's a high frequency, they're already open in the extrasensory gifts to be able to recognize that maybe that they're receiving information, but that's a very high level to be able to really sense energy being received into your field. So if you recognize that even negative thoughts, emotions that are being said to them, what is happening on the opposite side of this cord? On the opposite side of this cord is they're thinking about you, because you are thinking and speaking about them. And so what you're doing is you're sending information through energy to that person. So there's also a part of you that is utilizing your energy. So what's going to be helpful to understand is, when we come to energy, is there is three forces in the universe. You have neutral at the top, you have passive, and you have active. So, three forces is within everything, or three energies are within everything. That is the laws of the universe. It's within all creation, it's within self, and it's the same sort of ideology of understanding how to work with these cores. So, understanding what information you're sending, what information you're receiving, is through understanding these three forces. And so, within these three forces, the passive and the active, which is positive and negative, there is still a charge. There's still a charge to positive and negative energy. If you think about a battery, it needs positive, negative, and neutral in order for any device in order to work. So both of those things have a charge, but you need the neutral for it to be in harmony and for the mechanics of whatever that is to actually function. So this is where understanding that through these chords, you're sending energy, positive or negative. And the irony of that is if it's negative energy that you are sending, you are still keeping them in your life. Now let's look at this from a lens of a connection that is important to you, that you're wanting to stay in your life, that you're wanting to heal, that you're wanting to be harmonious. When you are sending, when you are speaking this negative energy, it is not that they're consciously aware that you are doing so. It's just that it is being received into their field, into their subconscious. And so there's going to be an energetic friction between this connection when there is still negative energy being sent. So much of the information that we send through the chords, it is so interesting that so many people have no awareness of energy and frequency, and yet they respond to it. It is because so much of how we move is through it's from a subconscious place. It's from patterns. It's from belief systems. So this is where they have no awareness that this is why there is more friction happening, but something just feels off. If you've thought that, if you've had that experience where just something feels off with this relationship, with this connection, with this interaction, I can't put my finger on it, but something just feels yucky or it feels off. This is your extrasensory alarm bells going and going, something isn't right. There isn't a positive interaction here. There is something that is being hidden, but that you are just receiving on an energetic front. And so it's really interesting that so many people who are, you would consider them to be not fully aware of consciousness, of energy, of, the quantum field, of, the spiritual realm and the unseen world. You would consider them not being aware, but yet they respond to people's change in frequency. It's just that so much of this happens on a subconscious level. This is where our mind is like so powerful, because it alters our behavior, it alters our communication, and yet we have no idea why. And this comes back to the programs of like your conscious mind is very much aware of so much more, and that's where it's really important to understand all parts of self, the mind, the soul, the body, the heart, because you don't realize how much of how you're moving in life is basis from a subconscious place. And it's only when you start to connect all of these parts and bring it into your awareness that you start to move with more consciousness. So you move with more intentionality in life. And so let's come back to the information that we send and receive through these chords. So positive and negative energy is still energy. Now, how do we heal connections? Is we have to come into a state of neutrality. Neutrality is unconditional love. Now, when it comes to these energetic cords that attach us from all that we know, all that we have known, all that we are yet to know, is within these cords, it's also housing information. And so, say for instance, in a relationship, this long-term relationship, there's been many things that you've walked through together. Now, if there is something in the past that is still present in that cord that hasn't been resolved, that hasn't been come into a place of acceptance, completion in what occurred, whether that is some, trauma, some issue, whatever it is in that connection, if we haven't come into a place of complete acceptance, peace, and resolve with that one situation, one scenario, it is still present in this cord that is connected between you and that person. So this is where, when you have these long-term relationships and you have this build up of things that are unresolved, it is present in this connection. And this is how we come into the place where in your relationship, you've been together for so long and you get to a point where you're just sick of the sound of their voice. That is because within that cord, there is this build-up of issues, of negativity that has not come into a place of completion. So it creates a distortion within this connection. You lose the spark, you lose the passion, you lose the desire, the love that initially brought you together. And so it kind of like murkies the waters, it murkies the connection where you cannot see clearly because you are clouded by the past. And that is absolutely why you can get into the place where no matter what they do, it is just not good enough, or that is perceived by the other person that it's not good enough, because there is so much information that there's so much situations, issues between you two that is still so present in your connection. So how do we even heal these connections? Let me share you a story of how I did for something that was filled with many, many moments that needed to be resolved, needed to be healed, needed to be moved through and to come into a peaceful state with a past connection, with a past relationship. 10 years. That's a long time to have many things happen. Is you have to first face. We have to first have the desire to see what is there, what is held in this cord that is tying you two together, what has not been resolved. First, we have to look at all that has not been resolved. And once we look at all that has not been resolved, we have to truly explore that story. And that is what I had to do. I had to go back and I had to truly reflect on every single moment in that relationship, every moment, and really understand and piece each layer. And in part 3, we're going to go really deep on how to go through this process, but I'm just going to give you an understanding of what it truly means. So it's going through each part of that. And you have to get through each layer of each scenario. You have to feel it. You have to move through it. You have to understand the lessons in order to come to a place of neutrality, which is unconditional love. And again, we're going to go deeper because this is a big understanding. It's a big exploration to truly understand what it means to be in a vibrational frequency state of unconditional love. And so we're needing to go through each layer of each scenarios that we haven't come into resolve. So then we can neutralize those aspects of distortions, of issues, of conflict that you've had. And once you do, it is almost that the information, that spark, that energy that was just stuck there between you two, stuck in that connection, it dissipates, it's removed, it's alchemized, it is transformed. But we cannot do so without looking at it. And this is how you heal connections, is you realize that the connection is hosting all the information of has been and what is yet to be, but has been. And you come into a state of resolve so that you transform, and so that you remove the distortion, you remove the the density, the sort of cloudiness, the the yuckiness of what's happened in your dynamic in your relationship. And this is the same with family. Family is, you've got cords that's got years and years of things that have happened, between you, and we all know that. And you cannot move forward in that connection in the sense of having a really peaceful, harmonious connection until you resolve all that has happened between you in this connection. And it doesn't also mean that it's necessarily about the other person, you having to communicate to them, you having to resolve it with them. In truth, it is not about the other person. Because all you need to come into resolve with, into peace and acceptance with, is your side, in the sense of what has happened and how that has made you feel. And you as a responsible, sovereign individual, as being the person in control of your emotions and how you respond to situations, how you respond to other people's emotions. So it isn't about that we need to go and sit down with these people and ensure that they hear our message, because they're not going to always, especially when there has been situations and you can see that they're not necessarily on a healing journey. So there is no ability to get what you're looking for. And this is where you're looking for validation outside of yourself. This isn't about externalizing and negating our responsibility of our actions. No one forces us to feel a way. We choose to feel a way. And this is how you create really healthy connections from the beginning, from all that you're encountering. Any new friends, any new relationships, whatever that is, when you really understand the effect of which that we have and how we send and receive information, is when you can create a really firm boundary, auric field. And when we're talking about, everyone's wanting to come up, when we're talking about the information that we are sending through these cords, remember, then we also have the ability to receive through them. So this is where all of a sudden, someone that you weren't necessarily thinking about, but they just pop into your mind. That is because they're sending you information. And so when you neutralize, when you're deciding that there's someone that you're not wanting in your life anymore, and you neutralize in the sense that you come into resolve with your side of the energetic cord, in the sense that you've healed, you come into a place of peace and acceptance and wholeness with that connection. You've learnt your lessons. You see how you would move differently next time, how you would honor yourself, how you would honor your boundaries. Even if they're still thinking or talking about you, it doesn't affect you emotionally when you have peace with that individual. This is the importance of actually coming into a state of unconditional love for all. Because when you do, this is where no one has the ability to affect your energy. Unconditional love is a state of being where nothing external to you affects you. And so if you understand how information received, even if someone maybe is maybe not necessarily someone that you're not wanting to be with, but someone that you have a beautiful relationship with and a connection with, but you notice that they're not in either a good place, or maybe they're in a negative mindset, where you can recognize that yes, you have the ability to fully feel what they're feeling and be in their emotional state as well, and sort of mirror their emotional state, or you have the ability to recognize that that's their emotions, that's their energy, and I don't need to be shifted off my vibrational state, my emotional state, my energy, in order to empathize and have compassion from where they are. And that is the power of unconditional love, because when we're having these interactions, and especially when they're maybe in a negative mindset, and you allow yourself to receive that and adjust your energy to match theirs, then you are both sending this negative energy to one another. So you're both like depleting your energy field, and the vitality within you to meet them where they are. But we can still hold compassion for someone who is experiencing whatever challenge that is with not having to shift our emotional state. And this is powerful stuff because this is where it actually changes your day-to-day and your interactions, where you just stay connected to you. You just stay connected in yourself, how you're feeling, and not be affected by one another. But it's also the most loving thing that you can do, because if you think about you having an interaction and someone is in this negative state and you kind of meet them when they're at, it just kind of feeds. Like it just feeds and feeds and feeds, and it just creates this bigger and bigger and bigger sort of like negativity bubble. And it was never on surface of them or you. And so if you just kind of have a place of neutrality and being like, yeah, that's pretty awful. But I'm not going to adjust. It doesn't feed their sort of negative mindset as well. And this is where we're like that mirroring effect, where we're kind of mirroring. And with the energetic cores, this is how telepathy works. So keeping in mind that you can also create, yes, you can neutralize in order to remove someone from your life that is not in service, especially a toxic, especially a violent person that's been in your world. That was my situation. It was vastly powerful to neutralize that cord. But you can also, with this knowing, you can create more stronger connections. And this is why telepathy can occur. It's sending information, your thoughts, through the cord, because for you to have a telepathic communication needs to be a consensual thing between both parties to feel trust and openness to receive. And that's how telepathy works. And if you think about twins, often we say that twins have telepathy. They grew in the womb together. They birthed together. They grew up together. That connection between those two will be so strong. The energetic cord will be so much stronger, being nurtured, being loved more, sending positive energy back and forth. So it's easier to receive. It's easier to receive more freely. There's more of a trust there. And that's also how you can create a stronger, beautiful connection with your partner. And just to share another story about the power of energetic cords is we have the ability to feel physical symptoms that the other person is happening. So let me tell you my story of what happened to me. I was in the kitchen making dinner, and all of a sudden, like I could feel like heart palpitations happening. And I'm like, and this, I was in a place of like, I had awareness, and I'm like, this isn't me. Why is this happening? And, there was heart palpitations. I'm like, this isn't mine. And I knew it wasn't mine. And I was very, very confused. And so I think a couple of days or maybe a week later, not long afterwards, the person that I had this long-term connection with, they said that they were having heart palpitations, same time as I was getting it. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is wild. My physical body can respond to what's happening in their field. Like that is crazy. And that's also not ideal when you're having that strong of a connection with someone who's not healthy. Not ideal for my body to literally having heart palpitations because that's what they're experiencing in their field. And this is where, you hear of mothers feeling something in their physical body when something's happening to their children. If you think about your growing life, your birthing life, of course, you're going to have this really strong connection with them. And so I've heard so many mothers say like they felt something in their body and they knew something wasn't right and they needed to get a hold of their child. And then they hear something that's happened. And that is just amazing, the antenna our physical body has. It's amazing the ability for our energy field to receive. And quantum entanglement is also the explanation of these energetic cords, where it is two physical things being affected by one another, that is not bound by space and time. So it's saying that all things are really affected by one another. And even if you look at Hinduism, and there's a symbolism of Shiva, and it's called the cosmic dance of Shiva. And it's an emulation of Shiva in a circle. And she's dancing. And what this symbol represents is it represents that one movement in one area is always interacting with everything else, and that they all kind of move together. So if one part's moving, it is interacting with everything else. So it's kind of representing the interconnectedness of all things. And so the idea of separation is not light and truth. It's just our perceivement from our conscious mind based off programs, based on conditioning, based off what we've been taught, that we are separate, that we are disconnected from self, from nature, from all things. But truly, we're actually connected. It's just that we just need to raise our awareness and our consciousness to feel and recognize that connection. And so let's wrap everything together. So, how to have healthy connections and how to heal connections is understanding that energy can be stored, that information from past traumas, past things that have occurred in a connection can be stored if we have not come to a resolve, an acceptance. And in order to do so, we must be willing to look. We must be willing to look in the past. We must see all that's there. We must feel all that's there. We must see our responsibility in it. And then we must see the lesson of which that was teaching us, and how we're going to move differently next time. And then you come into space of acceptance, peace, and surrender. And that's where you must let go. Once you understand it all, then it is time to let go. If you do not let go, it is still present, whether you processed it or not. If you process it, but you have not fully let and released it, it's still present. And this is how every connection that's been in our life, it is important to come into resolve with that, so that we can truly allow others to be in peace with the connections that we are in, your relationships, your partner that you've been with for years and years. Coming into resolve and peace is going to clear that connection and re-spark some beautiful feelings of passion and desire and happiness and joy, and bring you even closer when you come into peace and acceptance of what has been, if that is in benefit for both of you. That is up to you to decide of whether there are things that we're just choosing to ignore, and allowing resentment to build and build and build. And there's no resolve in the sense of there's no harmonious relationship. That is up for you to decide to explore. But just because we are not seeing does not mean that it's not there. It's because we're ignoring it doesn't mean the information isn't there. Doesn't mean it is not distorting that connection. Doesn't mean that they are feeling that. Doesn't mean that that's not creating more of this challenge between one another. Now, I hope that this kind of brought everything a little bit of an understanding. So this is part 1. We are going to go deeper in part 2 and part 3, and then 4 is going to be magic. We're going to go deeper into the teaching and the understanding. This is just a basis of really to begin. Now, exploration work of what I would love for you to do from today is really explore and notice the energy you are giving and receiving in all of the interactions that you're having. We just need to start awareness is what today's exploration work is about, and truly allow yourself time to digest this, allow yourself time to really explore and witness this in life, to see where you're receiving positive, negative energy, where you're sending positive and negative energy, how the other connection is affecting of you. Just begin to bring awareness, because when you do, that's when you actually utilize this teaching in your life. That's when you actually change your life. Is when you go away and actually do something differently in the instance of bringing awareness. Now, if you are wanting the deeper teachings, I have a special offer for you. I have a special Lionsgate portal offer of receiving part 2, part 3, which is the deeper teachings, like really understanding how to heal and work with this energy, this awareness, really. And then 4 is going to be a guided journey where I'm going to take you on a journey to energetically heal energetic cords. And it's going to be like language activation, all the juiciness. Now, if you're wanting to receive this full series for free, look at the description below. If you receive this by email, you will have all the information in your email so that you can access this on my Guy Bloom app in the temple, in the living library, where it will be home for you. So I hope this really helped you. Share with me any questions, anything that arose for you. I would love to hear how this landed for you. And just take a moment to process and begin to notice. Notice self. This is key. This is the first step. You begin to notice you and how you affect others. You begin to notice your energy and how that interrelates. You begin to notice when you're receiving other people's energy and choosing to allow that to come in and to match that vibrational state or that emotional state. So, my love, I hope this landed, and I can't wait for all the juiciness of what we're going to explore. It's going to be all about really understanding quantum entanglement, unconditional love, even time and space. You need to know it, because when you know it, that's when you understand why this is so powerful and why this is important information, because it's there, whether you recognize it or not. So I'd rather be conscious than unconscious. Have a beautiful day, and I thank you for being with me.